In your June Tailor package, you'll find 3 mug mats, the batting for 3 mug mats. You're going to want to cut those apart. And when you do that, leave 1/4 of an inch of batting around the outside of each of these mats. And you'll be ready to go. Next, take your 12 by 15 piece of backing fabric, place it right side down where you're working, and then place one of the batting mats on top of your backing piece. Center it right in the center, just as well as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's centered as much as you possibly can. If you want to stabilize your batting to your fabric, which is nice, it makes it a little easier, you can use a spray-based. You could use pins or a fabric glue stick. When I'm using with something this small, it really isn't a very big project, I find it easiest just to use the glue stick. Super fast. It's easy to draw for you lines and then just pat it down. I usually just pick up each side. I don't like cover the whole back or anything. I add a few lines and I go to each side and just add a few lines and pat it back down. It really does help. Remember that the lines on the batting are for placement of the fabric strips. They're not sewing lines. So all your pieces are measured and cut specifically for the numbers on the batting. Place the number 1 block onto the batting area marked number 1. Then take your number 2 piece and place it into its number 2 space. So the place fills that spot, and flip it back so the right sides are together. The number 2 strip will be on the wrong side up. So pin that into place. Once you've got that, you're going to want to take it to your machine and sew 1/4 of an inch away from the line that it's butted up against. Once you've sewed it, flip it so the right side of the number 2 is face up and give it a nice little finger press, or you can use a little rolling tool, which I enjoy. I love my rolling tools. Don't be tempted to use an iron to press the pieces flat once they're on top of the batting. You will ruin the batting. Okay, get your number 3 piece and put it right in the same space there down at the bottom. Right side up, and then flip it back up to the top, and then sew your 1/4 inch seam away from that bottom line after you pin it, of course. You'll notice you can't see the bottom line. I really wish you actually could have. That's a little bit off, to be honest with you, but look, this comes out great anyway. It's a great project. It's very forgiving, and no one's going to take away your birthday, all right? Just sew that 1/4 inch seam at the bottom line. Good to go. Okay, we're getting pretty close to done. You're going to want to finger press these seams really nicely or do your roller. Don't use the iron. Before we bind the mat, if you'd like to, you can quilt it further by stitching in the ditch of the seams, or you could sew 1/4 of an inch away from the seam lines, which is always a cute look, or you could just move ahead at this point. All right, time to bind. This is called self-binding because we're actually using the back piece of fabric to come up over the top and bind it instead of using separate strips. So what you're going to do is cut off the excess fabric 1 inch away from the batting. So measure from the batting, not necessarily the fabric, on all sides of the mat. Cut off 1 inch on all 4 sides. Make it all nice and even so we can pull that around and bind it. And it looks like my rotary cutter blade is getting a little dull. I'll have to replace that. I try to do it without using the my ruler. Anyway, all right. So get all 4 sides done so that you're ready to go. I love this next part because self-binding is really fun and easy to do. So if this is your first experience with binding, this is the way to go. So you're going to start with one side and fold that side up to meet the edge of the batting. Okay? Then fold it one more time so it comes up and over the edge of the mat. On the left edge, fold the corner up into a triangle against the edge of the batting. Actually, so we're going to put a pin in here. So let's pin that first side to make this easier. All right, or if you have clips, use clips. Now we're going to fold that little corner triangle up, and we're going to fold the left side just like we did that first one. Fold it in half to meet the binding, or I'm sorry, the batting, and then fold it in half again to come up over the top. Can you see that mitered corner? It's awesome. Looks great. It's perfect. So you're going to do this all the way around, and then you can use pins or clips to hold it into place. I really prefer the clip, so that's what I got going on here. Okay, now you're going to take it to your machine, and you're going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch along this edge. I mean, you could do whatever you want. You could do zigzag. You could do a fun stitch if you'd like to, but I just did a straight stitch for this one. And I want to show you the back. And like I said, you could have quilted even more on it if you wanted to, but it is already quilted. I want to show you that the size of this, it looks like it's, you know, coffee cup size. It really isn't. We've got a cup of tea here, and I'm going to put a little bowl of dried cranberries. And especially if I move this handle over, plenty of room for cookies. So go grab your cookies. See you later.